How can I tell if I'm being authentic or possessed by an idea? In the past, things I thought were me were just cultural fads. Another question allied with that. How can I tell if I'm being truthful in the present if I can only look reflexively at an outcome to see if it was fit enough from a pragmatic perspective? That's a complicated question. We'll start with the first one. How can I tell if I'm being authentic or possessed by an idea? Look, when you were possessed by those ideas, you might have been at least partially authentic, because one of the things you might ask yourself is, well, were they stepping stones to a better you? You know, people get possessed all the time because they admire certain ideas, and sometimes that admiration impels them into a kind of apprenticeship. And so they were stupider before they got possessed by that idea, and as they transformed themselves across the apprenticeship cycle, say being apprenticed to this fad-like idea, they learned something from it. So, you know, you might have learned and grown as a consequence of what possessed you. Now, you know, it's possible that a lot of that spoke to the development of parts of you that you don't want to develop. You know, that they spoke to your malevolence, and spoke to your desire to manipulate and all of that. And you have to sort that out. But look, I also don't think it's all that easy to figure out when you're authentic. That's subtle. You know, your felt sense of confidence in your words when you're not trying to win is something like your ability to judge your authenticity. You know, are you saying this to achieve a local end, or are you saying this because you have thought deeply and this is the best expression you can manage of a deeply held conviction? That's a lifetime. It's a lifetime of work, or it's a lifetime work to sort those things out. The best I could come up with was in my first book, well, the first of the more popular books, in 12 Rules for Life. Don't lie. Now, not lying is not the same as being authentic exactly, because as your question highlights, it's not that easy to tell when you're telling the truth, right? Because, well, what the hell do you know? It's certainly not the truth, what you know. It might be your best approximation, but it's certainly not the truth. And you're by no means unerring in your ability to discern when it is that you're even speaking your truth, because that's so complicated. You just have to practice doing that continually to get anywhere near good at it. It's years and years of effort, of stringent moral effort to begin to manage that. But I do believe that people can tell by and large when they're outright lying, and they can stop doing that. They can stop saying things they know to be false. And so that's the most obvious impediment to authenticity, is outright lies of commission. Stop engaging in those. Stop saying things you know to be false. Now, that begs the question, how do you know them to be false? Well, that's complicated. Sometimes that's a feeling of repugnance at your own words. Sometimes it's a feeling of touchy embarrassment, so that if people call you on what you say, you get disproportionately angry. Sometimes it's knowing a set of facts that you haven't let affect the way you think or present yourself. You know, you're purposefully keeping yourself in the fog, as per Rule 3 of Beyond Order. Those are all things you have to sort out for yourself. But I think it starts with an act of faith, and which is at least in part why religious systems insist upon faith. And faith isn't belief in something that no one sane would believe. You know, that's a misapprehension of faith. Faith is something like a decision that truth serves the good, and the good is worth serving, and so therefore truth is worth serving. That's an axiomatic proposition, and you can debate its empirical justification. And of course, we wouldn't be tempted into temptation if we couldn't debate its empirical justification, because the objection is, yeah, and what exactly does truth buy you that falsehood wouldn't buy you better? And if you don't think that you're tempted by that counterposition, well, then you don't know anything about temptation, because that is the temptation of the counterposition. So, and it's powerful temptation. That's why it's a statement of faith that conquers it. It's a decision. So you probably were possessed by an idea, but maybe there was something in you that was striving to be authentic, and maybe you can speed that process of transformation along by vowing, by taking a vow. And that's adopting a religious commitment, which is, I'm going to serve truth and the good, despite the proximal cost. And that's a statement of faith, because you're staking your life on that, right? Because every decision you make from here on in will be affected by that decision. So it's a fundamental decision. And hopefully that will guide you in your endeavor, so that your possession by cultural fads, which might be a necessary part of your apprenticeship, will be temporary and serve this zigzagging path to something that's better for you in the future. The second question, how can I tell if I'm being truthful in the present if I can only look reflexively at, well, you can't. If you can only look reflexively at an outcome to see if it was fit.